From the world of AV programming and control with James King, I'm Steve Greenblatt, and this is Ask the Programmer. James, how are you today? We got a very busy episode to on tap for us right now, and if you didn't catch our previous episode, you'll know why.
Oh yeah, this is great. Love having these folks back. I learned so much from them, and I look forward to it. How are you doing, Steve?
Doing well. So we have some familiar faces. If you didn't listen to our previous episode, please do. But we have some members that are going to be speaking on a panel on entrepreneurial frameworks for running your business at the Total Tech Summit, which is an event in San Antonio on November 4th through 6th of 2024. Quickly, I'll welcome back. We have Alex Fortin from NDS. Welcome back, Alex.
Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for being here. Jarrod Hillman from Hillman Audio Video. Welcome, Jarrod.
Hey, how's it going, Steve?
Very good. Shawn Hansson from Logic Integration. Welcome back.
Thank you, Steve. I didn't get omitted from the next one, so I must have not said something too bad.
And last but not least, Brittany DiCesare from Control Concepts.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back. So I want to jump right in because we have a lot to talk about. And what I teased at the end of the last episode was the fact that we are in a technical industry. And as Jarrod said, he talked about the E-Myth, and I think that's a great book for anybody who is trying to understand what does it take to own my own business. A lot of people think that that's what's next for them when they get really good at a trade, but it may be for some, but it may not be for others. But Alex has often said that he comes to this industry a little bit differently in that he is a business first guy who has a business within the audio video industry or in a technical industry, and that's a little bit unique. I share in the fact that I like Shawn said in the last episode, kind of did all of the technical things and then started a business. So, Alex, tell me a little bit about what the difference is.
Primarily, it's perspective, and probably technical know-how. But yeah, as you alluded, my background is primarily in business. I spent 6.5 years working for a Fortune 50 company in the technology sphere before I ever became an entrepreneur. And when I decided that it was going to be an AV, I had to kind of do what's polar opposite of most people in our space that are in a leadership or an ownership role, which is I then had to become technical. And so my perspective looking at this AV business is really from a business perspective. And I know we talked a little bit about the E-Myth and the three kind of different personality profiles of this industry, but mine would be that it's very much so from a business perspective and an entrepreneurial perspective, which is in some cases, it's probably more challenging to be a business owner without that technical skill set. At least it was in the beginning for sure. And I've had to sharpen my my technical sword, so to speak, over the last few years. So yeah, it's important just to remember that ultimately, although we're, I would say as AV professionals, we're all, very compassionate, very caring. We care about our clients, care about our employees. We tend to be very, for the most part, introverted. It's important to remember and that this is a business at the end of the day, and I think something like EOS really helps shape that idea and conversation by just continuing to remember that we got to have these goals, we got to push the numbers forward. As much as we care about the employees and clients and community that we work for, ultimately, if we really care about them, we'll do a good job and continue to be in business so that we can continue to serve them, right? So that's kind of a different perspective that you might get from a business first type of personality versus take care of the client, just get the job done, just do what they tell you to do, which we need to have both, right? It needs to be a symbiotic relationship of take care of the client, but also take care of the company so that we can continue to take care of clients.
Brittany, I'm going to have you jump in because this is something that we've wrestled with a bit in our company, and it's something that I personally had to do a little bit reflection about, in that my thought was that if we're really great at what we do and we are the best technical company we can be, the business will work itself out. But that may not be the best formula. Talk a little bit about how you were able to dissect that, and we were able to make adjustments to realize that the business really needs to provide the stability to allow us to do the technical things and serve our clients, similar to what Alex said.
Yeah. So I come with less technical experience in this industry, and I've had my fair share of doing things for my house of worship, but in a company of programmers and developers, my knowledge is severely limited. So that allowed me to come in with this perspective of approaching it like a business first. And so what we found was we were allowing technical decisions to outweigh business decisions. And we were chasing certain technologies, which was pulling our focus from our actual goals. And we were stretching ourselves thin, chasing any project that was technical in nature and fit like a developer or programmer, but they didn't truly align with who we saw ourselves to be in the industry and how we served this industry. So what we did is really kind of strip that back and take the focus off of the new shiny technology. Stop seeking out, the newest platform and trying to get up to speed on them as quickly as possible, and really start focusing in on, does this platform look like it meets our vision, aligns with our values, and will help us serve our clients in the way that we see our business serving our clients. And we now evaluate our projects against that lens. So making sure that we're not just chasing after the new and exciting, but something that will be beneficial to us, not just now, and it's not just money in the door now, but it's a future partnership along the way. And we can serve and build a partnership and a relationship with our clients versus just doing one-off jobs for them. That was a big thing that even our team shared with us as we started talking about this. They didn't want to do just one thing for a client. They really wanted that partnership together. And that's actually one of our core values. So making sure we were aligned, but also making sure that although it may fit within one of the lenses of what we do, making sure it aligned with all of them. And that was another thing that seemed risky if you looked at it from the outside perspective. We actually chose to turn away a lot of work that would have helped our company, but didn't align with who we were overall and how we saw the future of control concepts. And so to the industry and to those outside of the industry, none of that makes sense. Like, we were actively turning away work that could be profitable and that could bring us money, but it wasn't who we were anymore. And so it also, by doing that, we were able to show our team we mean what we say. And we are truly aligned with our identity in this industry. And we are committed to having a down year for future success, because this is how we're approaching it now. So there's a lot to that, and a lot that we could talk about. And I've talked a really long time, Steve, so I'm really sorry. But it really just involved us kind of tearing down those walls of technology and really shoring up the foundation so that we could make good, healthy business decisions for the future success of our company.
I appreciate that, and you didn't speak too long. It was excellent. Shawn, it sounds a lot like what Brittany just said. Sounds a lot like what you alluded to in the previous episode. So, talk a little bit about that from your perspective, in that it's hard to make those decisions, and it's hard to be able to say no sometimes. So, how much discipline is required to be able to really commit to a business framework, and we talked about the guardrails and so forth, but also just the technical curiosity. I think it can be the scope creep in a business.
I loved what you said, Brittany. I really do. Like, I have such passion for what you said because we've been through a few phases of that where our business is 23 years old and I'm a garage and a minivan startup. And so, boy, chasing the latest, greatest, whether it's a salesperson or myself after a trade show. Like my team used to hate when I would go to a trade show and I'd come bouncing around the office with all my great new ideas and all the new cool things that we could install that we weren't a dealer for, didn't have training for. You know, the just figure it out later, sell it now, figure it out later mentality. But they're like business is so complex, you guys. Like when I was by myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, like how do you get 10 employees? And then once you get 10 employees, there's so much wrapped around it. I'm going to suggest another book for everybody listening. And it doesn't matter if you're by yourself or if you're a part of a bigger team, but it's called Blue Ocean. And it's such a fantastic book because it is what is everybody else chasing and going after? And maybe someone's doing a little bit better than the other, but they're all kind of going after the same thing. Or what are you excellent at? Like Control Concepts, like you guys are probably the best or one of the best at what you do, but you had to focus and figure out how to get there and cut out the rest. And one of the ways we did that as a company is we took sales for 3 or 4 years and broke them up into 10 categories. Whether it's industry, it could be if you're doing residential, is it a home price point? Is it working with builders? I mean, there's a lot of ways to chop up your business. But like, what are you guys really good at? What brings you joy? We have 8 core values at our company, and you align that with your core values too. Deliver legendary service, right? Honor commitments. If I do a project out of the country, can I honor my commitments? Probably not. It's going to be hard to service it, right? Be on time. Communication. Are we working with a customer that doesn't communicate very well? Because that is a huge part of being successful. So it's fun to get in a room and whiteboard, like what are you truly passionate about and what are you good at? And you'll start to see kind of what falls away. Oh yeah, we did those 2 projects. We didn't really make a ton of money, but they were fun. Or, they were really difficult projects. Maybe we should do time and materials. So I think that's a really, really great way to focus and kind of peel away the rest. And so I kind of said the same thing as Brittany, but maybe in a different way.
That was excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Jarrod, you've been too quiet, so I have to make sure that
No, I've got some thoughts.
And well, I know, and that's so I want to let you let those out. But
Appreciate that.
Talk a little bit about how you've been able to switch that mindset, because to me, I think that business is kind of counterintuitive, where technical stuff is a little bit more linear, and so how do you explain to people with either within your organization or people that you work with, when you're putting on your business cap versus your technical cap?
So the 2 things that were brought up by the 3 that I want to touch on is personally, I think coming from outside the industry, coming in with a business mindset is in the sense that I'm going to start this business and these are the services we're going to provide. I almost feel like that's an easier route. And the reason I feel like that's easier, and Brittany alluded to her advantage of not being technical, and I can tell you that probably 2 or 3 of the most influential people we hired to our business were not technical. And they were disassociated with the technicalities of what our business actually does and focused on how do we manage project better and how do we run a business better. And that disassociation really took us further, because what I'm going to go to now is that discipline to run a framework. And the reason why you should have a framework is because when you are the technician mode and you were the person that started the business out of, hey, I'm really good at doing this thing and I can do it better than who I work for, so I'm going to start my own business. When you're that person, it's a disadvantage, because when you hire people, you have a flair or a taste in how they should or could do things. And when you don't know how they should or could do things, you just trust for them to do things. And so what I found with the framework, in my case, EOS, is that it gave me a structure of trust that eliminated the fear I have of saying no to other business or letting other people do other things, because that's really what drives most of our bad decisions in the beginning is fear. Is you're afraid that if you don't take this job on, despite it not being in your value, despite it not doing what you're excellent at, you're not going to be able to pay the bills. And then the fear of having employees that don't do it the way you want it done, or do it the way that you think it should be done. And so having a framework and building out these tool sets that build out process on how something should be done, and then monitor and measure how it was done. Building that out starts eliminating and chipping away that fear that you have. And I think that those are those two things, is that association with being technical and the fear that you have of starting a business when you are technical. The framework really, really helps with that, and helps eliminate those two things. And so for me, I started self-implementing EOS, I would say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, immediately following when I read Traction. And I suffered from all those things leading up to that. And when I realized, okay, I can let go of the vine, as they say, and I can put a process in place, and then this is how I'm going to make sure that it's being done right. And you start seeing those systems work, well, then it's just positive reinforcement of behavior. And so I can tell you that frameworks are very freeing from all of those trappings that people that start businesses suffer from, especially when they come in technical. So that's what I would say, Steve.
I appreciate that. James, I want to make sure that we bring you into this conversation. Not only did we get some really great content and really good insight from these guests, but they're also giving of their time, and they're also willing to share. How important is that? And I know that this is something that you do within the higher ed community, but how important is it that we have people that are willing to help each other in these regards, and share both their successes and their failures?
We are a community creatures. Humans thrive under community. We're protections, knowledge sharing, all of that. That's where we get our dopamines from, and we get chemical reaction. There's actually a chemical reaction in our bodies when we get to help somebody. And so it is very important for us to do that and learn from each other, because I just heard this on a podcast last night. A room is smarter than any one person in it. And that, like, look here, like, we are all smarter together than me, myself, or Alex by himself, or Brittany by herself. We are collectively smarter as a group. And that allows us to look at it differently, come at it different angles, and come up with the best solution that is to address any situations we might be in. What I keep hearing from the folks here is, it remind me of the book I read, Turn the Ship Around. Like, you all came in as non-technical, and you look at it differently. And the author of that one, who's an admiral, he studied very hard on what submarine he thought he was going to be assigned. He knew that sub inside and out. He knew every fine detail. And then 2 weeks before he got deployed, he got put on a different sub. He knew nothing about it. He didn't know about the controls, didn't know about the technology. So he had to ask more questions. So he actually got the confidence from the crew. Instead of telling them, you need to do this, he asked, why are you doing that? Because he was really curious to try to understand what was going on. So I think coming at it non-technical really actually is a better way to look at it.
It's quite interesting, and I hope that those in our audience will be able to take something away from this, because it isn't what you would think it would be. And I think a lot of us have kind of fallen into that trap a little bit. And it's often that people ask me, about starting a business, and I tend to tell them that a business has a mind of its own, and you really have to understand that you're no longer doing what you're doing. You're no longer a programmer or a technician, a designer. You're a business owner, and you have to be able to accept that responsibility and own it. And that's your job. And there's a lot of responsibility that comes along with that. I Before we wrap up, and I know we want to stay tight on time, I want to give each of you a chance to talk a little bit about why you do this. Why is going to events important? Why is it, do you give of your time and your insight? Jarrod, you've been to several of these. I know you've done talks on EOS, and why is it important to you to give back, let's say, or to educate those in the industry, and some of which may be your competitors?
Yeah, I can tell you that my I wholeheartedly believe that my success lives in my involvement in the industry. You know, 14, I'm just looking at the date, 14 years ago, actually 13 years ago this month, when Hillman was started, it was just a means to an end. And it was maybe a few years in that I started getting more involved, and I can't express enough how much I've learned. And to be honest, Steve, I do this out of self-serving reasons. I hope that my minuscule participation actually gains me more than I give. And usually it does, because I'm in conversations with just great, intelligent thinkers that I had known, that I didn't know, and it puts me in great positions to hear what other people think. And so I'm selfish about it. I'm just trying to help myself.
No, you're just good at business. You want return on your investment.
But anyways, I will say, in all seriousness, I love the involvement in the industry, and I just think it provides so much to people, that takes you out of down in the weeds and brings you up and out of it, and you can actually see this huge landscape of what people are doing and go, oh, I'm not the only one. Oh, it's not just me. Oh, great. Okay, how did you solve this? And so I love it. Yeah, that's why I keep going.
Absolutely. Shawn, you mentioned in the last episode how many Total Techs you've been to, and I'm sure you've been to many other industry events. You have to put in your time to be able to get places and to be involved, but it also takes you away from some of the things that you need to do to keep your business moving successfully. Why is it important to go to either the Total Tech Summit or other similar events?
Sure. I have a huge passion for our industry, of course, like I think all of us, but all ships rise. I mean, I actually just opened, I have a conferences and training Apple Notes folder since my first iPhone. And the amount of notes that I have in there and takeaways and things that I've implemented as I scan through each year. 2011 was my first tech summit. Um, and the things I learned from others, even my competitors, right? All ships rise, right? If we can all make it better, AV does have a little bit of a bad name still, to this day. Like, how do we undo that? How do we unwind the bad installations? How do we stop bad installations and bad designs and people from installing stuff they're not dealers for? So, and, like the Total Tech Summit, the speakers they bring in, pick your topic, whether you want to run your business better or if you want to become a better programmer, whatever it might be. There's so much to learn, and the community that's built, the friends that I have, the lifelong friends that I have in this industry are amazing, whether even personal things, if I'm going through something personal, or they can call me. And I love that. I absolutely love it.
Absolutely. Brittany, you've been going to different events within the industry, and one of them is the NSCA BLC, and you're also involved in young leadership opportunities. Why give of your time, and why is this? It takes you away from time at home and so forth. what sparks your passion for being involved in these ways and keeps you coming back?
Like James mentioned, we're all meant to be in community. And I think the most crippling mindset is to think that you are the only one going through what you're going through. And as business leadership, I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not the business owner of Control Concepts, but within leadership, it can be so limiting to think that you're the only company dealing with what you're dealing with, that you're the only person in this role dealing with what you're dealing with. And I think the beauty of this industry is that it is familial, and we all mostly do want to help each other. And I think the beauty of going to these events is you get to see the community, and you get to be in community, and you get to have these conversations that you otherwise wouldn't have, because you would be stuck sitting, for our company, stuck sitting remotely in your home thinking no one else knows how to help me through this. So I think it's important to get yourself out of, those valleys and really come alongside each other and be open to talking about the things you're facing, and be open to input from others, whether that's others within the industry and even outside of the industry. Business is business. And my husband is a security integrator, so he sees things differently from his industry that him and I get to talk about in terms of running the businesses. So I think there's such a beauty not only in finding that community, but also giving back to that community. And my big thing is, I would hate for the rising leaders of our industry to make the exact same choices, and with that, the same mistakes that leadership before me and leadership now made. Let's allow them to learn from the mistakes that we've made, from the decisions we've made, and grow from that. Let's not have them starting at the very, very bottom of trying to rise through the trenches. They have to do some grunt work, but let's give them a leg up and say, I already went through this. I already learned this. Let's start you out mid-level, like start on the middle of the ladder. Don't start at the very bottom. We already climbed those for you. So that's my big thing, especially with our rising leaders, is allowing them the opportunity to learn from us. And the only way to do that is to be at these events and to be willing to share our perspectives, share the things we've gone through, to be open to the industry and to those leaders, so that they are more successful than we are.
Well said. And Alex, I want to ask you, what advice would you give people that are looking to, get involved and be in a similar spot where they're asked to participate and or considering going to events, but need to justify them and say that this is going to be worthwhile and that I'm going to get return on my time?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, just to comment what Brittany said, it's all about community. Misery loves company. All joking aside. Yeah, I mean, you either think you have it all figured out or you don't. And I bet you if you ask someone very honestly in the confines of a closed room when nobody's listening, they'll tell you that they don't have it all figured out. And places like Total Tech Summit is a rare opportunity where you have business leaders and owners all in the same place talking about the same things. You don't get that at Infocom. Quite often if you are connecting, usually it's regarding a vendor dinner or something like that, and you're kind of looking at each other, sizing each other up. Total Tech Summit is really an opportunity for people to come from all over North America with with shared backgrounds and shared problems, and it's really a very genuine community of people that are looking to improve, right? And I'm so very fortunate to be a part of that every year. I think this is my third year now. And while I, have heard tell of other events that are similar, some of them have been mentioned, I haven't gone to them and I haven't found that myself. And business ownership and leadership is a very, very lonely path. You're out there by yourself, and quite frankly, I don't know I'm making all the right decisions. If you ask me very honestly, I'd say I probably am not. And places like Total Tech Summit You're able to bounce ideas off each other and have just some honest conversations where there's no, if I'm talking to someone from North Carolina, we're not going to meet, like, we're not going to compete with each other. Like, we're not going to have to meet each other on the battlefield. So we can have very honest, strategic conversations about how's your business doing? What's your business like? Have you used this software? Have you talked to this vendor? And it's a rare opportunity to kind of just have some very authentic, real, meaningful conversations.
Absolutely. I often say that there's a time and a place to talk about technical things, but these events like Total Tech Summit and NSCA's Business Leadership Conference, they're just so unique, and they give us a chance to be able to put on that other hat, but also have conversations that are very different, because we all are kind of we have a common thread in the fact that we're looking to improve our businesses, and people are it's very, very fulfilling and heartwarming that they're willing to help each other. So I can appreciate that. Probably a good note for us to wrap this one up, and I know we're running a little long. I'd like to thank our guests again for being with us, and please listen to the previous episode. We had a lot of great conversation about business frameworks, and if you're going to be at the Total Tech Summit, be sure to be there bright and early on Tuesday morning, which is the first full day of the event, where you can see these fine guests speaking on a panel about entrepreneurial frameworks for running your business. So Brittany DiCesare from Control Concepts, thanks for being here. How can people get in touch with you, learn more about Control Concepts, as well as continue the conversation?
So you can learn more about Control Concepts at controlconcepts.net, and you can reach out to me on social platforms at Britt Dice. Excellent. And Shawn Hansson, how can people get in touch with you and learn more about your company, Logic Integration?
Sure, logicav.net. And then I'm at Shawn Hansson with 2 S's in the last name on socials.
Fantastic. Alex Fortin, thanks for being here. How can people get in touch with you and learn more about NDS Integration?
Yeah, you can get in touch with NDS Integration at ndsav.com, or you can send me an email. It'll get to me through hello@ndsav.com. I'm also on X. Just look for my name. I'm the one talking about AV and family and philosophy and all sorts of weird stuff.
And last but not least, Jarrod Hillman from Hillman Audio Video. How can people get in touch with you and learn more about your company?
Jarrod, you're on mute. I know.
I also carry instructions on how to unmute. You'll find us at hillmanav.com, and you'll find me on LinkedIn.
Wonderful. And James, I hope that you found this to be valuable, and feel our audience will as well. I know that we are mostly talking about the technical side of things and programming side of things, but this was a good taste of why we do what we do. So, any last words, and how can people get in touch with you and learn more about what you're up to?
Again, community is big. Unlike Alex, I'll tell everyone I have no clue what I'm doing. I just hit buttons and put wires together. But being able to call somebody, I've actually reached out to folks already on this call who have helped me. I've reached out to other folks in my community who have helped me, because, like I said, we all don't know. We all get better working with each other. But again, if you want to find me, connect with me, Google me, you'll find me. But I say connect with these folks. These are, and attend the Total Tech Summit. Really important.
Absolutely. And you could get a great list of business books for your library if you listen to this in the previous episode, and note them all, because they're all top quality suggestions. And I'm sure we all have plenty more. But one common thread for a lot of people is that are looking for either professional development or business growth is reading. So highly recommended. The Total Tech Summit, as we mentioned, is at totaltechsummit.com. So please check that out. Our friend and frequent guest Dan Farisi is one of the people that is orchestrating the event. So also check him out as well. Dan Farisi Edit on Twitter. and or X. And but Dan's a great guy, and I highly recommend that you connect with him. And for me, you could reach me at Steve Greenblatt on social media. My company, as Brittany mentioned, Control Concepts, is a supporter of Ask the Programmer podcast. And what we do is we build the building blocks that help programmers be more successful in their job. And what we do is we help provide API integrations in the form of modules, drivers, and plugins, as well as some low cost or no cost utilities. And they could all be found at controlconcepts.net. And our podcast here is on video on YouTube and audio on your favorite podcast player. And until next time, this has been Ask the Programmer.